Hello and welcome to the Ross Cloud Podcast. I'm your host, Carl Ross Sr. And this platform was created to motivate and to inspire in hopes that you will become a better you. I want to give a shout out to all of those that are listening. North Carolina, stand up. Those in the Trefo in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I must, before I move forward with my hellos, I have to say hello to the one and only, my co-host, Miss Shanta Cardwell.
Hello.
Them North Carolina, what's it, Norfolk Vikings?
That's it.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
I know,
95.
All right then, you know. A straight Valkyrie, cheerleader.
All of that.
Rah, rah, rah.
All of
okay,
that.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Charlotte, North Carolina. Shout out to Greensboro, the Gate City, and surrounding areas in North Carolina. And I must say hello to those that are abroad over in Brussels, Belgium. Bonjour. To Panama City, Panama. Buenos dias. Buenos tardes, señorita. What's up to those Russian brothers and sisters? Shout out to those in the Middle East, to our African brothers and sisters. Hello to you, Washington, D.C., Baltimore. Be more. Let me get them crab cakes, please. Shout out to the West Coast over there, California. Over there in Arizona. Y'all can't see it right now, but my camera, my photographer here, Miss Maisha, is directing me.
Right, she's about to have a
Keep your chin up. Turn this way. Girl, go ahead on now. So listen, we have our special guests here. And if it's anybody that I forgot, please forgive me. FLA down there in Florida, what's happening? Forgive us if I don't get to everybody. In Virginia, Danville, Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, everybody. Hello, you all are family and we love you. So listen, we got a very, very special guest in the building. We have the one and the only Professor Jermaine Jones. Now, I want y'all to know we are not perfect on this platform. So, Professor Jones in the building.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Matter of fact, you know what? It's okay. It's okay because I've done the same thing before.
Right on.
Holding it together.
And
I done said Jerome.
Yeah.
Right.
You're going to be Jerome today.
Yeah, you're going to be Jerome
Yes,
today.
that's right. You know who you are.
That's right. You know
Just act like
exactly
we
who
know
you
who
are.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes. And so, man, he's going to bring some great information to us that can help us continue to solidify us as a people and continue to progress. Even though we're progressing in some areas, there's still a whole lot of work to do.
Yes.
And we're so glad to have him here. So we're going to go ahead and get on started. Professor Jones, let's start from the beginning. I don't care where you go with it. Let's just roll with it, brother. Thank you for coming on the platform.
Absolutely. And I'm actually excited to be here. Super excited to be here.
Right on.
To share my story. And this vibe with y'all. I love what I've seen so far.
Thank you.
I'm happy to be a part of it. All right, so a little bit about me. The short version, born in Washington, D.C., Southeast D.C., raised in D.C., Oxon Hill, Maryland. From Maryland, my mother moved to North Carolina. You know how it goes. The relationships doesn't go well. Mama goes back to where she's from. I ended up finishing high school in North Carolina, going off to NCCU playing ball. And
you played football?
Played football,
What position did you play?
Punt return.
Okay.
That paid the bills.
Yes, sir.
4 years.
I got you.
That's all I did. That's all I wanted to do.
Right. You wasn't making no career out of it, was you? No, sir.
Yeah, and actually that's where a lot of where I am now began to become cultivated. Just being refined and being in that atmosphere. Remember, coming from high school and the environment I came in, for me, folks gave you what they could give, right?
Sure.
But you get into that environment and people begin to become vested in your success. You learn so much.
Yeah.
and it was tough at first. Being refined, sometimes you tug and pull.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, that's where I can honestly say the journey to where I am right now actually began. And I had folks from all walks of life, from all races, to really invest in me and say some things that stung a little bit, but it made me redirect my mindset.
Yes.
So, yeah, and from there...
So I don't mean to cut you off. How important is it for us as people, just humans, to redirect our mindset? Can you touch on that a little bit before we go any further?
Absolutely. I think it's vital. And I say that because of two reasons. One, we all have been damaged by some sort of trauma, whether it be mild or hard. The other thing is, I think I just mentioned it, our parents only could give us what they could give us,
Yes.
whether it was right or wrong. And then some things we had to unlearn.
That's right. That's right.
So, but I think it's vital. I think self-reflection is always awesome, right?
Yes. That's a beautiful thing.
Yes, sir.
So I know that you are an author now, but getting to on that journey to becoming an author after college, to on that journey to becoming an author, I heard you say the support. When did you make a decision that this type of book would be so vital? Like you said a few minutes ago, not only for our community, but for just humans in general, for people in general. What was that like to cause you to write a book? And then I'll let you talk about the book. But in between that to getting to this book, what was that like to make that mindset for you begin to change? I know I went all over the world.
No, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. So honestly, I just mentioned going through that corridor at North Carolina Central University. I was honestly being refined, right? I was being remolded cognitively. And let me go back before that quickly.
Sure.
So the environment I come from, it helped me to get through college, to endure, right? To be able to adapt. But I also knew, I didn't know what I wanted to do. The NFL was in the picture a little bit, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. But I also know the main thing is I knew what I did not want to do, and it had to do with some of the environment I came from.
Yeah.
So once I got to NCCU and going through everything I went through there, getting out of college, and finally going back to school to get a master's, and then at that time, after teaching at Word of God Christian Academy, I began teaching at Durham Tech College.
Okay.
And that's where everything honestly began to hit me. Seeing my students who were coming from the inner city, coming from the hood, coming to my class with ankle monitors and court mandated papers and things like that. I think at that point is when I felt like I needed to articulate like the gravity of our culture.
Yeah.
And with that came research on our culture more, because it's easy to point fingers and say, okay, why does this person act this way, or why does this person bring their environment into these closed spaces? But it's more to it. You got to understand the culprit. It's something before the action.
Yeah.
So that all of that just made me want to articulate our experience, the black experience, but also tell it from a lens of experience myself.
Absolutely.
Right?
So are you saying that it wasn't until you had students that you were kind of responsible for teaching them,
Right.
and seeing where they come from and seeing their perspective that you're like, they kind of need to be enlightened or try to figure out why they are that way, because you wouldn't know that unless they were in your class, right?
Absolutely. But to that point, here's the thing was, my students are coming from the same environment that I came from. But my thing was to figure out what happened. Why are they this way, and how did I get this way? What was that factor?
Right.
So whatever that factor was, whatever I was trying to shadow, I needed to find it and give it to them.
So you do your research, and that's how the book starts.
Absolutely.
Got it.
Absolutely.
So tell us the title of the book.
So the title of that my last book is called From Poverty to Prosperity. A Ghetto Exit Strategy is a Rite of Passage.
What a title.
Yeah.
within
ghetto
itself.
Right.
exit strategy as a rite of passage.
Absolutely.
So is that saying you can use that to get to the next piece or part of life? You got to use what you got?
Somewhat.
Or is there a little bit more to it?
It's a little bit more to it, and the more is this. I remember when I did I had a book signing, and somebody was asking me. They hadn't read the book. They thought it was a book about making money, and
They ain't read the book.
they didn't read the book.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
But
I love that, right?
And then
Okay.
there's a chapter
Oh,
where I have listed something I can't even remember, something about relationships, and I had a young lady ask me, was I talking about my personal relationships and stuff? And I'm like,
What?
what? Read the book.
Book.
Yeah,
Read the.
yeah.
How you come to my book signing?
Absolutely.
Oh, you know we got to work on that.
Yeah.
Read
Lord,
the
we
book.
don't like to read.
Oh, my
Lord
goodness.
Jesus, but that's another topic.
Right.
Go ahead.
So pretty much, here's what I do know. I've learned and I know. Like, when you come from the inner city, right, you're conditioned to believe a lot of things. And one of the things is that, and this is maybe it's just me, my personal experiences, but in the inner city or the hood or whatever you want to call it, things are inverted. So success is failure and failure is success.
Yes.
That's why we get when folks come home from prison, they have parties, but you let somebody graduate from college and it's no celebration.
No celebration.
Right. So the title is basically saying that leaving your environment at some point when you are ready is okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to get away from those old archaic custom and norms because ultimately the rules and regulations that you function by in this small locality, it will be standing room only when you exit and
Yeah.
come into this real world.
Yes, yes.
Those rules won't help you at all out here.
Sure.
And that's pretty much what I'm getting at in this book.
I love that, man. I love that. I also would think this book would be very vital for those that are coming from an NFL perspective too. A lot of our young men go into the NFL that came from the hood.
Absolutely.
I know college. I know now they're paying college students now, so maybe it's different. But still, we have quite a few NFL players that go broke
Absolutely.
because they're taking that same old mindset and still really haven't learned. Nobody, parents are poor.
Absolutely.
Parents don't know, and so they take that same mindset to the NFL.
Absolutely.
So, how can we attack that too as well?
Absolutely. And that's a great question too, Mr.
Your
Ross.
thoughts, yeah.
So let me
Basketball too. I mean, all
of
whatever.
it's the same.
Any kind of money we come across. Let's say that.
Absolutely. So let me. I'm gonna give you what I think is the
Okay.
issue. Then I go to the
Yes.
problem.
Yes.
So I think part of the problem is, remember I just mentioned we're conditioned in our personal environments to believe certain things.
Yeah.
The first thing I think is important to understand is that black aggression is $1 billion business.
Say that.
Right.
Wow.
Say
So
that.
even me, when I was 6 or 7 years, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, all I knew was play pro ball, buy my mama a house with that first check, and then whatever else I want to do, I'm gonna do.
Right.
And I'm
Buy
kind of
me a
glad.
car.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad.
Buy me a Lamborghini.
Because me
Back
at
in the
22
day.
with that money, it would have been.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been right.
Right.
But my point is, we gotta understand that black and the players know. They understand it, but they haven't figured it out. That black aggression is $1 billion business. So what I mean by that is this, and then I'll get into the solution. What I mean is, we're groomed to be brute, to use our size, to be agile, and we understand that those features will earn us a lot of money. Will at least transition us to the upper echelons of life, right? But and if you think about it, 3-pointer in the NBA, when the three is hit, when shot and made, yeah, I mean, folks, the meter goes up. But it's worth 3 points. But that dunk is only 2. But everybody loses it when they see that black aggression. It's something about black aggression that
Good
gets
point.
us
Good point.
riled up. And these players, that's all they can see is the black aggression is going to earn me or will be the vehicle that takes me to another form of living. I'll worry about going broke later. But and the league does bring someone in to, but at that point you got to understand these guys have been conditioned. All they know is, look, I'm in the league. As a matter of fact, I just saw this last week. One of the HBCU guys signed. He was like, I got a meal, but my mama's still living in the sticks. So
Okay.
now, So let me say this, not to get off but let me say this.
Take your time.
There's this recent article, and this is so true, and this answers the question, Mr. Ross.
Mm-hmm.
The article focused on how when folks of color, black folks graduate undergrad, white folks graduate undergrad, neck and neck. I'm not comparing the institutions, but we both finished undergrad. Statistically, well, this is what the stats say. The stats say that when a person of color graduates and a white person graduates, as they go through life, the black person makes less money per year. It could be the same job, and the white person makes more. And this is why. The reason why is because when folks of color finish school and they go on and try to transition to the next level of living, they have more folks who depend on them financially, because the folks in their social circle, they may be first generation. Or if they're not first generation, it's not too many who've actually penetrated academically that world. Where when someone white, a counterpart, graduates, everyone in their social circle has a college degree. So there's less being pulled. And that's the research and that's the perspective that I trail first in order to try to figure out some of this stuff. Because sitting these guys down with these contracts, even if they got a $200,000 contract, they've never had that money before. They've never had that feeling that money gives them before. So they're not interested in saving and things like that because their environment conditioned them to spend, and they equate money with masculinity.
With power.
With power.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I think that's, and hopefully I answered your question, but for me,
no, you did.
I think that's part of the problem.
That's good stuff. You got something,
That's
Shanta?
true.
I see you up there.
My wheels are turning. I'm still on Black Aggression, $1 billion business.
Yes.
We can need the part 2 just to be about that.
You know, I was thinking the same
Wow.
thing, because what we see now is with the different, the way hip hop is, and I saw that mentioned in your bio when I was reading. With hip hop, from what I see, from my perspective, I'm 51, so 80s, 90s, Tribe Called Quest, I mean African Bambaataa, I mean Kumo,
Public Enemy,
yeah, you know,
KRS
Houdini,
Rakim.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what I see now is we're being, what you said, that aggression, we see it all in the music.
Absolutely.
And the jails are set up. They're making deals now that says, okay, you can invest. Why don't you invest in this jail? But what we need for you to do, let's keep talking about these Desert Eagles.
Absolutely.
Let's keep talking about these MAC-10s. Let's keep talking about these weapons so we can fill up the jail system.
Absolutely.
Right.
Until we can get that. So it's just what he said. So now they're capitalizing off of our aggression.
Absolutely.
True.
Giving them the money, but they still don't know how to use the money.
Well, they
so they
just
go
give
out,
them the money
Bentley,
so that they can control.
Bentley,
Yeah.
Lamborghini, as you stated,
Yeah.
diamonds. I mean, you got like $1 million worth of diamonds.
Correct.
Instead of somebody saying, hey, man, why don't you go buy some land and just get somebody to build some houses out there?
Yeah. I think when you correlate it back to the like 90s and 80s, like if we're just talking about the rappers and the hip hop, when I think about it, those entertainers and rappers back then, they were giving. Like they were giving to the black people. They were giving them knowledge. They were telling them, you know, how to treat your mother, how to treat your sister, how to take care of black people, how to take, you know, do those types of things, how to be a strong black woman, you know, Latifah and all those. And now it's like, take. Oh, you ain't gonna give it to me now? I'm gonna take it. I'll take it. I'll take this. I'll take that.
Give me
I
the
got
bag.
this.
Give me the bag.
So it's just a whole different, to me, movement.
It is.
And because the mothers and the fathers of the children that are now making that type of music,
Sure.
that's what they grew up on.
Right.
Yeah.
See, the parents are younger now.
Absolutely.
You know, they're getting younger and younger and younger. So if your mother was born in the 90s,
Yeah. Good point.
they don't know
Good point.
what they only know what they grew up in.
And they poor. Some of them are poor.
Absolutely.
And I think,
But
too,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think
No.
too, part of the problem is this too. Shanta, what you just said, and Mr. Ross, in terms of the music, the quality of the music, and the message in the music. I want to be clear here. I'm going to say a name, but I want to be clear.
We say what we want to say.
Okay.
Okay.
That
Yes.
music, the agenda of that music aligned with around late 80s, late 70s, going into the 80s, the early 80s and mid 80s. That music aligned with the premise of the Cosby Show, right? I'm gonna make this point. Now I'm not here to talk about. Cause I just want to talk about it. Okay.
Brother, we
Right.
with you. We just did something on
Right.
gossip. We ain't gossip.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no. So
It could be truth, or it could be rumors.
It could be rumors.
So we just gonna stay on the
We
truth.
just gonna stay on the truth.
Absolutely.
Right on.
Absolutely. But that agenda, that whole agenda, that Cosby Show movement, black folks was going to the armed forces the late 70s, late 70s, going to the 80s. When Cosby Show came along, it was a different message. The two-parent home is possible. The music that they allowed Theo and them to not to listen to, not listen to, all that had a message, right? And then comes Chuck D and Public Enemy and all these other brothers who were rhyming, right? But what happened was, just like everything else, that music was repackaged and given back to us in a different form and fashion. Also, I think too, in terms of like agendas in music, I want to go back to black aggression as a billion-dollar
Yes.
business. Reality TV, right?
Wow.
Housewives of everybody. There's
Part
always
two.
some women barking on each other, and but the ratings are high, right?
Yeah.
Again, that's just my personal observation. I just think black aggression is $1 billion. There's
so
something
true.
favorably interesting about black aggression to all folks,
Isn't it,
especially
though?
white people.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's difficult for me to watch. Like, I can't watch it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm seriously, like, I don't watch any reality TV. The closest I get to it, and you better not laugh,
What?
is Naked and Afraid. Because it's just funny to me.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and be
Like,
honest.
you know, like, Naked and Afraid is so funny to me. It's not really like reality TV,
Right.
but,
Yeah.
you know, they try to put it under that umbrella. But it's hard for me to watch, like, Housewives of Atlanta and Potomac or any kind of reality TV, because it's really not reality. Like, it's still so, like, scripted, and it makes them look crazy
well,
to me.
if we're being very transparent, I must say
I can't watch it.
it is a guilty pleasure of mine.
Really? What do you like about it?
I don't know. It's very entertaining, right? I must be honest.
Oh, man.
But because I'm a mature adult,
Right.
I know rich folks don't act like that.
Right.
Not
Right.
wealthy folk.
But you're not a woman either.
I'm
so I
not
think
a woman
that's
either.
interesting.
Even with that, you can eat the meat and spit the bones out.
Yes.
Right? The
Yeah.
same thing with music. Right?
Right.
Say that again.
Eat the
You
meat,
eat the meat
and spit the bones out.
Absolutely.
Now, look, I think that was Jerome talking. That wasn't Professor.
That wasn't-
Jerome.
that was-
just said
That was Jerome.
that was. I need y'all
Jerome.
to know. My brother came. He came here with two people. Jerome. We got a fourth guest. Jerome and Jermaine. Now, Jerome said you got to eat the meat and spit the bones out.
Oh, gotcha.
Jermaine said black aggression is $1 billion business.
Girl, we know how to turn it on and turn it off.
Listen.
You know?
Absolutely.
That's
Yes,
good
sir.
stuff. I like
I
that,
love
Jermaine.
us. Go ahead.
Eat the meat, spit the bones. Can you make that T-shirt? You gonna make that T-shirt
Let me
before
get,
we
let me
leave?
get one too when he makes it.
You
Yes.
will?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Definitely.
So that goes back to what I was. You made a good point. Well, from the music,
Yes.
I want to make this last point. All
Sure.
this stuff, black aggression. So
Yeah.
I'm not against. Trust me now. I'm not saying I'm against it. But what I am saying is, I think part of the reason is we're so comfortable in that space and comfortable seeing
Sure.
that aggression being volleyed back and forth is because, and maybe it's just me, I just think a lot of our trauma is genetically transmissible, and I think we're jockeying for a space in America. It's difficult to be black in
Yes.
America. I don't care what
Yes.
your salary is, what your tax bracket is like, what you
Yes.
drive. There's always something that some anxiety that we got to worry about that other cultures don't.
Yeah.
But I think part of it is that there's this thing I like to say where when we are hurting or we feel pain, if no one else sees it, we'll hurt ourselves. We'll inflict pain upon ourselves in order to be heard. like riots. We burn down our own communities, right?
Talk
We only
about
do
it.
it. We do it because we want to be heard. But I just think the whole thing with the reality shows and all this stuff and just the behaviors we exemplify, I just think we're jockeying for a place in this America that we know as much as we try to love her, she doesn't kiss us back and hug us back. So I think that's what makes it comfortable. On top of folks needing a check too.
Lord, yes,
Because at the end of the day, it's about that check.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
A lot of people are only doing what they're doing because there is an amount of dollar signs attached to it.
Absolutely.
Well, like, it could be simple day to day. Like, if we're talking about working, we're working somewhere, we're making $2 signs.
Right.
As soon as $3 signs come up,
yeah,
even if we really don't want to leave the $2 signs,
yeah,
we're going to get the $3 signs.
yeah.
Right.
That's
But
so
we
true.
just had this conversation.
We did.
And it is true.
It is true.
But when it shifts to what are you doing what you really need to do?
Yeah.
Because if you're doing what you really need to do, the dollar signs will come, right?
Say that.
They'll come, which I'm just learning at 45.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know my walk.
Right.
You know my walk. Like,
right on.
you know
Right
the
on.
very thing. I was about to give it all away
Yeah.
for some dollar signs, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, Jermaine clearly knows about my flight attendant journey, my
Absolutely.
journey. Like, he talked to me just like you talked to me
Yeah,
before I
man.
left.
Yeah, man.
So all of these people are talking to me like, listen, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing.
Right.
So is it worth it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Chris said, go, but you're coming back. Jermaine says, go. I don't know why you're going, but you're going.
But you're going.
You know, everybody's saying the same thing.
Absolutely.
But for me in that moment, it was about the dollar sign.
Yeah. And I get it.
Yeah.
Right?
I want to make sure.
So
that
we're being honest.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I say this.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side of that,
Right.
is it empowering a lot of our young men? Are some of those young men business owners, entrepreneurs? Yes. On the flip side of that, they probably are. The ones that are doing the right thing are opening up businesses in our communities, opening up, joining with franchises and making their mark in America, right? But at what cost?
Right.
The price that they're paying to do it. And we don't want to talk about it, the blood money that comes out of this. Are they getting involved with some of those old traditions that come from America that are not right? We don't want to talk about sacrifices. We don't want to get into different things that we know from a spiritual standpoint
Selling your soul.
that they're getting into
Right.
to receive all of these goods and services. So it's a tough.
The
This is a
culture
tough
has
conversation to
changed.
have.
The culture has changed.
because there's good that's happening,
Right.
and we know with everything there's good and there's bad.
Right.
Right.
But I guess it's just such a complex conversation to have. But I'm glad we're having it. And I'm glad you're here
Right.
to help us bring some balance to this. With what you bring into the table.
I think it goes back to what Jermaine started this whole conversation with. Where you come from,
Yeah.
how you grew up,
Yeah.
what you're just accustomed to, what
Sure.
you're used to, what you were
Sure.
taught. So
Sure.
we grew up, we're all kind of in the same
Yeah.
age bracket.
Yeah.
Having a watch, if you had a watch, you was good
Right.
with that watch.
Yeah.
You didn't have to have 4 watches.
No.
You see what I mean?
No,
So
you
the
didn't.
culture, the world has changed. What people are
Yes.
listening to, what people are seeing.
Yes.
It's like literally, like people don't believe
No.
this, but I have
No.
one vehicle.
Yeah.
My husband has one vehicle.
I got you.
So that means 2 vehicles, right?
I
You can
can't
only
say-
drive.
I can't say that.
Right, you can only drive one at a time, right?
I can't say that.
But even if we was about to come into $100,000,
Right.
we probably not gonna buy a vehicle.
Right. I got you.
You know what I
got
mean?
you.
Because
Yeah.
we got a vehicle.
Yeah. Now I'm a firm believer on that.
You see?
Now the cars that we do have,
Right.
they're paid for,
Right.
except for one.
Right.
Right.
But everything else paid
But-
for. I'm not interested.
But what
Just
I'm
you
saying
said.
is
Not
people
interested in
that
having
are
anything
getting
else.
money, they are like, oh, I got this money, so now I can go get something.
Never
it's like
had it.
about stuff, getting,
Yeah.
getting. And it's not about giving.
Yeah.
So as soon as we change our mindset back to giving, even if it's giving
Yeah.
to yourself,
Right.
that means giving it to your retirement, giving
Mm-hmm.
it to your savings, giving it to your 401k, then we're going to always be broke, back to poverty,
Yeah.
back to whatever.
So the question is, how do we change those behaviors?
a mindset.
So how do we change the behaviors? I know it's a mindset,
Right.
but how do we get them the information so they can change the mindset? Because that's work.
Right.
It's a process.
I think folks have access to the information.
Okay.
I think part of what Shanta is saying as far as the whole spending thing in this, I think that's an additional lifestyle. I think it's a lane that people make a conscious decision to be in.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like for example, I remember talking to a family member recently who is into brands. Like, I don't knock it. Like, do you work hard, do whatever.
Sure.
But what I asked him was, I said, hey, he told me he had a cold, right? I said, don't come around me just yet with that. You gotta make sure that thing is not what I think it is.
You better make sure it's a cold.
Right. But he told me he had a cold, so this went on for like a week, Mr. Chris. So when he told me that, like a week later, I said, listen, we got on this discussion about vehicles and things like that, whatever. And I said, well, listen, look, man, you know, I'm qualified to say this. You stay decked out. You got the, look, the Louis, whatever. I said, but you look good on the outside. But what about your health?
Right.
I said, your appearance is healthier than your internal.
Wow.
And it kind
Good
of clicked.
point.
And I think for him, and he was really keen, sharp young man. But I think at that point, I honestly do believe, even though he's in that world, right? I think it clicked because maybe a week or so later, maybe 2 weeks later, he hit me up leaving out of the gym.
Yeah.
And I'm not the most healthiest person in the world. I work out all the time. But my point is, I think when you say something to someone and it triggers something, or maybe even steps on their toes, I think there's some truth in that pain. And I think he saw that. But as far as the information, I think most of these folks know. I just think I think social media has a lot to do. It's inflamed a lot of this fictitious living, and people look for social media to validate them. That's why they feel worse when they leave social media.
Yes,
they
Lord.
feel worse than they did before they got up there.
Yes.
That dopamine and all that stuff is released,
Yeah.
and they're looking. The likes equate to quality of living and validation.
And it doesn't.
No,
Not at all.
Because
man.
again, it's not real. What they're showing you is only what they want you to see.
Absolutely.
I tell
It's
young
calculated.
girls when I'm teaching,
It's intentional.
when I'm teaching cosmetology class, or when I'm teaching whoever,
Yeah.
and I'm like, show me what you like. Show me what you think is pretty.
Yeah.
Show me what you think is, hot.
Sure.
Whatever is fly. Show me what you think a baddie is.
Sure.
And I'm like, so her booty is not real.
Okay.
They'd be like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, her boobs, they aren't real. Her cheekbones, they aren't real.
Wow.
Her lips, they aren't real. Her lashes, they aren't real. So if you take all of that away, you really the baddie. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who's really the baddie? You a baddie with none of these things, or you the bomb, or whatever, beautiful with none of these things. And here you are thinking you got to look like that to get what she has, or get the attention that she has. So let's change that thought process. But if I am the educator and they're looking at me and like, well, how did you get it? I don't have a fake booty. I don't have fake boobs. Like, I don't have any of that. And, I had boyfriends before my husband, and I got a husband, But I didn't need any of that. So my thing is, people got to stop thinking that they need that to really get what belongs to them. Because, again, if you stay natural long enough, the natural some brother or whatever is going to come along and love that you don't have those things. Because most of the brothers that I know looking for good women and wives and girlfriends to commit to, they got to find who don't at this point have the fake booty, the fake boot. Seriously, they're looking for that. But they so busy going to get it. I'm like, I wanted to, introduce you to my man coming through town. You in Miami getting your booty done.
Right.
It's facts.
So now you out the picture. I know he ain't gonna want you now.
Yeah, and I think with the newness comes a new mindset too.
Yeah.
It's just too much. I don't knock it though. But I remember when black women's features and curves was forbidden. I remember back the 40s and 50s and 60s when if you were curvy or you were shapely, it was a bad thing. Now people are risking their lives on tables to get these features.
It is something serious.
Yeah,
when
it
now,
really
we talk
is.
about reality TV.
Yeah.
When now we have a reality TV show
Yeah.
to talk about how people have botched up
I agree.
their bodies, and they're begging people, don't do this.
Yeah.
Now we got to have a whole TV show now
Yeah.
to show y'all somebody's body just destroyed.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Self-esteem in America is
That's real.
nobody loves
That's
themselves.
scary.
Absolutely.
Nobody really cares or loves themselves at all.
In the meantime, we could be reading books by Jermaine Jones
Absolutely.
about how to not,
Yes.
how to
Absolutely.
change.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's another thing that I want to shift gears on that. So I hope everybody got an opportunity, a little glimpse into what Professor Jones is, his agenda and his mission to change the mind of us as a people. And really, this is a humanity thing, but more so for us in our community about bringing change. But I want to switch gears a little bit. There is something that I heard you when I read up on here about Black excellence. Can we get into that?
I like
Was it
that,
Black
Chris.
excellence? That
You better
talked about,
transition, friend.
Right, exactly.
You
That was
better
smooth.
transition. That was smooth. Whoa. He said, let's talk about this.
Well, let me give me a haircut.
Yeah, you better transition.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, brother. Was it Black excellence you said, or something that to that?
You mean as far as in the in the bio was
It might have been in conversation as I was reading, as you were communicating with my wife, who does a phenomenal job of logistics. I thank her for
Absolutely.
that. Let me give her a hand. I got to give my kudos. Okay.
Get your hand. You got to go home to them kudos.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you going to talk about everybody but me? Right.
Go ahead, brother Jerome.
so
I mean, brother Jermaine.
right.
Here we go.
It's all
Okay,
good.
We're
you know,
going to
I
flip
botch
flop
up some
that all
names, you know.
day. Oh, my God.
Go ahead, brother.
So Black excellence.
Yeah.
So there's this element of Black existence in America that rarely goes noticed, right?
Yeah.
When do we really, like, you guys? I love it because you guys are giving me a platform, right? Just to celebrate
Absolutely.
things I've done and written about and stuff like that, and what I'm currently doing. But like, I don't think we celebrate the history that we make individually enough.
We don't. You talk to me about that all the time. Like, seriously, we don't talk every day. But when we talk, he's like, what you doing? What? You don't, do anybody know what you're doing? You know? And I'm like, well, no.
So, and I get it. Sometimes we move in silence. I'm big for moving in silence and not letting folks
Me
know my
too.
Yeah,
Yes,
because
me
that's
too.
healthy. That's healthy.
It is.
But I'm also
Man, thank you for that.
yes.
Yeah.
But I also believe that, see, when it comes to history, I think we've been conditioned to believe that it's a history book or whatever the case may be. When we think about the things you're the first to do in your family, right? It can be anything, license.
Yeah.
It can be learning how to change a tire.
Come on, man.
Education. Get in a particular type of position, whatever the case may be. But that's historically that's groundbreaking in our culture and in our family.
Sir.
And I think one thing we need to do is celebrate our history more and give flowers to folks. It's okay to tell somebody, hey, I love what you're doing. Matter of fact, let me kick it to me. Let me listen to your blueprint. I don't need your blueprint, but maybe you can help me and diverge me to a place to where I can do some things I want to do.
Love
and
that.
I think that's part of Black excellence. I think the other thing is, I think Black excellence is only seen when it's released to the public. I think a lot of times we can catch that thing going up,
Wow.
and we can cultivate that.
Right.
Listen, let me say let me say this. Listen,
Right. So true.
I
So true.
Is he here with me in my heart, right?
Yeah, my heart.
Dog it,
Oh,
man.
come on. 'Cause
Yes, brother.
I see myself in what he's saying. Like, really?
Go ahead.
I was with my mother probably about right before the pandemic hit. I would come to North Carolina and just hang out with my mother, take her to dinner and stuff. And my mother asked me something. I'll never forget this. I remember where we were when I was driving, and my mother asked me, she says, Jermaine, how does it feel to have a college degree? She never asked any of my siblings that ever. And it messed me up. So I was driving. I thought about it. And I had to process it. And I said, Mom, it just feels normal, you know? But that's not what she was asking. What she was asking was, how does it feel? How does it feel to have endured all of those things that you've gone through to get to where you are as a young black male? And we had a conversation after that, about that question, because my mom vicariously lives through her children. Any of our successes, we give her the degrees, and like all that stuff doesn't mean anything. It's just a token of work, hard work.
That's right.
From where we live to what we drive, that stuff is just those are just things that symbolize hard work.
Yeah.
But I'm saying okay, I'm going to go back to what I'm saying.
No,
so the
fine.
point I'm making is, I think when it comes to black excellence, our vision for black excellence can get distorted sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we don't celebrate ourselves, how can I celebrate Shanta? Or how can I honestly celebrate Mr. Chris's anything he's doing? We need to be in these spaces more. We need to be around black excellence more. I don't care how you feel in the inside.
Yeah.
Right.
You're here.
Yeah.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And I think it's
Yeah.
important. It has nothing to do with, don't get me wrong, I know money's important in order to live.
Yes.
Right.
But it has honestly, it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Right.
I would rather be emotionally healthy and physically healthy.
Yes.
I mean, I want to be financially healthy too.
Sure.
But if I'm those things, I can trail where I need to be, right? But black excellence is a huge deal.
Yeah.
And we're responsible for celebrating that.
Yes, we are. Well, why do you think it's so much? Why do you think it's so much hate in our community? Do you think this was? Do you think it was because of slavery? Do you think it's because how we were done in this country for so long? Do you think we were bought into this environment? From your perspective,
Absolutely. I think, Mr. Ross, I think the traumas we're experiencing now as a whole is biochemically transmissible.
Okay.
I think slavery, honestly, I think slavery did us in.
I got you.
And I say that because it is. And I won't go into like the atrocities, the things that
I got
happen.
I got you.
But a lot happened
Yeah.
to like cognitively distort folks.
Yes.
And then they had kids and those things. But my point is, when you think about this, right? So you think about how redlining, this is why I say what I just said. Redlining was designed to keep us away from affluent ways of living.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I said this to one of my lectures, my classes. Y'all cool. You and Sean, y'all cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cooler than a fan.
Yes, sir.
Fan. But watch this.
I like that. I
Cooler
like
than a
good
fan.
But watch this.
Mhm.
This wall here to here, right?
Mhm.
If Mr. Ross and Shanta had to live just in this space, or just you and your wife, just in this space right here. I'm gonna use just you and your wife, or you and your husband.
Yeah.
Just this space. You guys had to live in this space for 1 year.
Yeah.
In this space.
Wow.
Would you say it's a big space?
No.
No.
Right?
No.
And in this space, you had everything, but there was only one of everything. One laptop, one toothbrush, one piece of pizza, one of everything. One shoe, one pillow, one pen, one pencil,
Wow.
one of everything.
Wow.
You got two folks in this small locality
Right.
with limited resources.
Mhm.
I don't care how
Right.
close you are. At some point, y'all gonna clash.
Right.
I want to use this. No, I'm using it.
Right.
Then you're clashing.
You gotta wait. I don't want to wait.
Yeah.
That's the blueprint of the hoods and the cities in America. You got these people in these small
analogy.
places
Great analogy.
Wow.
with limited resources.
Yeah.
So it's a forever beef.
Yeah.
It's forever.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
infinite.
So now I'm gonna take what I want.
Yes.
Yeah, and what you gonna do about it?
Yes, when I think about the Wilmington massacre, when I think about Tulsa, what happened to us in Tulsa, when I think about just Black Wall Street on a whole,
Absolutely.
when I think about what we were doing as Black folks, even the Harlem Renaissance, even when they brought in all of the heroin was big in that era. So even when you think about the Harlem Renaissance and how they infiltrated our neighborhoods with the drugs, because when you think about the Harlem Renaissance, we were just doing what we're doing now, Shanta. Like, say, for instance, I got this space. Like right now, I'm collaborating with people to do shirts They're not paying for anything. I'm paying for it.
Right.
But I'm collaborating with them to give them, we're cutting deals with each other.
Right.
But it's going to help them to solidify what they're doing. Only thing I ask is that you have your tax ID straight, that you have your brand protected, and I'll make everything for you. But here's something that I need. So it's almost like one hand washes the other. Like if this was larger, I probably would let people come in and say, hey, man, you can go ahead and set you up a little barber shop back in the back. That's what they did in the Harlem Renaissance.
Absolutely.
The shoe shine man might have had a big facility. Oh, girl, you want to sell chicken dinners outside?
Absolutely.
I'll set up a whole kitchen for you and let you sell dinners outside of my thing. If we could get back to that, that would be wonderful.
Right.
But there's no way that just what he made mention to, we fighting and tussling over a toothbrush.
Right.
Well, just wash the toothbrush out and let me use it now. As horrible as that may sound, you know.
I
so.
think aggression has become a part of our culture. It's embedded into our culture, and I think that's a direct response to how we respond to America responding to us. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Like, for example, when we have...
Great way to break that down when you said, when we was talking about Tulsa and the women to massacres.
Absolutely.
That was aggression.
Absolutely. And those weren't... There were a plethora of massacres. Those were not the only ones you had.
No, not at all.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There was a bunch. But my point is, if you have... When you have to... As black folks, right? When you have to... There's certain things that we have to worry about that our counterparts don't, and that's trauma in itself. For example, I remember when the mask mandate popped off in D.C. about the mask, the first thing I thought about, instead of being safe, I was like, well, daggone, when I leave the gym at night, I like to go over to Safeway and get me some fruit. How that's going to work at night with me with a mask on, coming in there with a hood?
See? Come on.
But when that's something that you have to worry about,
Right.
that other folks don't. Think about the other things. When we got job interviews, we got anxiety driving there.
Yes, sir.
Right.
And we shouldn't have
No,
anxiety.
we shouldn't. Yes, sir.
So when trauma is your life, and regardless of how healthy we feel, we all need counseling.
Lord,
but
yeah.
I think violence has been... America is a violent place anyway.
What?
And I've learned more about that when I was living in China as a visiting professor over there.
Man, talk about that experience.
Absolutely. So...
Thank you for helping me switch gears, because that's where I was going to go.
You better transition, Jerome.
Was it PWI?
Jermaine.
The acronym that you,
Yeah.
what the acronym did you have for PWI?
Predominantly white institution.
But let's go back to China,
Okay.
and then we transition right on into that.
Okay.
Way to go, Professor.
Absolutely.
Let me give you a hand clap, brother. Celebration.
Chris.
I love it.
Go ahead, brother.
So that experience, I was there for about 3 years, and that experience taught me so much. It was very difficult at first, and it was literally like leaving Earth, like going to another planet. But
You were teaching
yeah, I was,
in China.
I was
Come on.
lecturing.
Okay.
And those students ended up coming to America, finishing
Black
their
man in
degrees.
China.
Right.
That's right.
Exactly.
Right.
Everybody knew me when they saw me coming
Right.
through. I had theme music coming through there.
No.
Everybody
Boy, I wish
knew
I
me.
had some Shaft music
It's so-
right now. I'd play
Can
it for you. I'm
please
sure
tell
that's
me
what it
this
was like.
because I just want to ask this. So I know when you were in China, who would they call you? Like who they think you were? They thought you were somebody famous, right?
They
Who
thought
they
I-
think
they-
you were?
a couple folks thought I was Chris Paul.
I get
I
it.
played in the NBA.
I get
It's
it.
so
I
funny.
started telling people, I play in the league
Yeah,
a little
you
bit.
just let 'em
I
think
do a
it.
little bit of something.
It's so funny because that takes me to. I was telling you when we went to Dubai. It was me, my mother, my auntie, my cousin, and I
Sure.
promise you, because they don't see like
Absolutely.
black women, like they see multicultural
Multicultural,
women,
yeah.
but just like straight up black women,
Right.
Yeah.
they don't see that a lot,
love
and that
it.
is a melting pot of all different types of people.
Sure.
Everywhere we went,
They were.
so it was four of us. It was me, my mother, Auntie Lo, and my cousin Maria.
Yeah.
When I told you about this, I said everywhere we went, we were Michelle Obama, Oprah Winfrey,
I believe that.
Nicki Minaj,
I believe
and
that.
Beyonce.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So seriously, when we went to the souks and where we went, that was like Nicki Minaj. So when we got out the bus, we would say, "Okay, who you gonna be? Who you gonna be today? Let's just go with this.
Absolutely.
You know, go with this."
Right.
Yes.
So my auntie she loved Michelle Obama, so she was always Michelle.
Yes.
My mother was always Oprah,
Yeah.
and then me and my cousin would flip flop between Nicki and Beyonce.
I
So
love
I'd just
it.
be like, "I'm being Beyonce today.
Absolutely.
You be Nicki." So they're just like, I had to ask who
No,
they
no,
thought
you're
you were,
fine, you're
Yeah.
because
fine.
when you're in other countries and they don't
Sure.
see
Right.
true like black people, and then they find out you're American.
Yeah.
Because for a while they thought I was Indian.
Gotcha.
They didn't think I was American till I started talking.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that experience.
Yeah. So Chris
Definitely.
Paul, that's funny.
Thank you for Shonda for
Absolutely.
sharing
We
that
have to talk more
experience.
about when you go to other countries.
Yes.
I would love to have that
Definitely.
conversation.
We're going to.
Yeah.
Definitely. But while I was there, I was able to place the backdrop of their culture against American culture, and that's when I really started understanding violence in America and how it's woven into the fabric of American flag. We are conditioned to love violence, from boxing to sports to football and guns and aggression. So aggression sells. When you're there, I couldn't find a football in Walmart in China. I couldn't find you could find a basketball, badminton and ping pong and swimming. I had to change my whole workout routine when I was there.
Wow.
So, and they're the most meek folks. And don't get me wrong, there's aggression there, but it's not an amplified aggression like it is here.
So
right?
because the martial arts is more of a discipline,
It sure
not
is.
a fighting type thing.
Nah.
It's more of a discipline.
It's more of a discipline. And actually, martial art, I mean, and that's another misconception.
Yeah.
We get the movies and we get everything, but martial arts is only relevant in certain parts of Asia.
Wow.
Right. Just like with the whole manicures and hair thing.
Jermaine.
It's a misconception.
Wow.
It took me like 4 months to find out where to get manicures at
Wow.
and pedicures.
What?
I'm serious.
See, now I'm so amazed.
And my
at
mind
that.
is blown. Just
Yeah.
Like
mute
seriously.
me. I'm blown away now.
You sure? You want me to move
Yeah,
you?
no.
I mute you, girl. No.
Really?
Now,
Misconception.
Further north,
Wow.
I was 1,000 miles south of Beijing, but in Beijing is where you had more of the British influence from London and things like that, and
Okay.
the hair, and it was more metropolitan, right? Where I was kind of like the country, like,
Okay.
but it was still China.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a whole
That's
bunch of misconceptions. But while there, I was just able. Me being there as a black man was exciting for a lot of folks. They had never seen a bunch of them had never seen a black person.
Sure.
But the university was only interested in my quality of professionalism and my pedagogy. Where here, I can tell you right now, some institutions where I interviewed, and I was judged from the gate. I actually had, and I knew I did. I could have sued one university for discrimination, but I was like, you know what, they don't even worry about it. And but there was in China, that university, and still was only interested in me as a professor and what I had to give, and that was even different. And coming back to the States, where it was more so, now I'm teaching in these white spaces, and now I can see the legacy of slavery on these campuses, in these meetings. I'm in a faculty meeting with 80 people, and it's only 6 black folks in the room, and I think that speaks towards culture. It has nothing to do with Jermaine. It's the culture I bring into these white spaces. It's my experiences. Like James Baldwin said, it ain't the black folks that America hate. It's the experiences that America hates. It's that community language and that slang and that vernacular that they bring into these spaces. So all that stuff I was dealing with. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
And I honestly I loved that the way that they perceived me and that they treated me. And then you come back to America, and it's almost like you have to, if the requirement is to write 1 book a year, you got to write 5. If the requirement is to,
Jermaine, that is so.
it's
Wow.
a lot. So now, and it's funny because I'm on a committee at work now,
Yeah,
spearheading
talk about
this
that, yeah.
spearheading this inclusion committee, and trailing the structural racism in the department.
Now, where is that? We need to know where that is.
American University.
American University.
In Washington, D.C.
Come on, Trailblazer.
So we're on it. We're on to it. We had a third party come in and do some research, and she did a really good job. And when the report came back, it was chilling, right? Some of the things that have been historically happening, even some of the things that were happening before I got there.
Right. Is that the only place you're educating at American, or you have
No,
another
so
place?
I'm a full-time associate professor at American, but I also teach a course at Georgetown University.
Yes.
And I teach a course at Bowie State University.
Come on, black man.
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about your experiences here in America now as being a professor. There's that PWI you use, the acronym that you have for that. Can you expound on that a little bit more?
Absolutely. So, PWI, predominantly white institution. And I can tell you guys right now, being a professor of color, teaching at these predominantly white institutions, it's tough.
Wow.
It's a feeling of loneliness and emptiness, where you're there because you know for whatever reason they chose to bring you in. You're qualified to be there.
Right.
You know, your pedagogy and your research and your work. But again, culturally, you're not cultivated. You're not embraced. And that white space is a space of commonalities. Everyone probably, they kind of went to the same school. Even if they didn't go to the same schools, they had the same experiences. Where you come in and your experiences as a person of color or black person, it's just totally opposite of what they've gone through. So it's almost like we talked about eating the meat and spitting out the bones, right? So it's almost like, professionally you're somewhat embraced, but culturally, that's the bones to that environment.
You feel like the Rooney Rule?
Yeah.
I want to say that. You feel like the Rooney Rule.
I have colleagues.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have colleagues who have shared with me, full disclosure, just how they felt.
About you being there?
No. Let me be clear. I have black colleagues who have given me their experiences.
Okay.
Right? And one of them is leaving. One has already left. One is leaving. And then here's the other thing too. When you get to these PWIs, these predominantly white institutions, and if you stay on campus all day, you get hungry, you go eat, you will see that most of the black folks on this campus are workers in these cafeterias and these restaurants. You don't even see a lot of students of color. And then you see a professor such as myself coming through, and it's a different vibe. And I change the bandwidth and the frequency in these meetings when I step into this room.
Sure you do.
Because I come in not as Professor Jones. I come in as Jermaine Jones.
Right.
That's it. That's what you get. That's all I know to give.
Right.
And my mentor, Dr. Cornell West, that's something that he's instilled in me.
Because you said Cornell. Cornell gonna get a clap.
You got to say that name one more time.
Dr. Cornell West. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's something that you. And even before Dr. Cornell West, Rosetta Jones,
You better come.
Yeah.
But man, come on!
Listen.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Listen.
I can't
love it.
be any other
I am
way.
inspired.
I just can't. It'll be hard for me to not bring my culture where I go, because I think that's what I do. I defend my culture when I'm
Absolutely.
in my courses.
So man, you know what? That excited me.
You should be.
I'm about to get teary-eyed.
I know.
I don't even think you understand.
I'm honored. I'm just honored that I'm able to be in this space.
Yes.
Like, seriously, in this space.
Absolutely.
And, like, I have to say this. When we're talking about, like, our cultures and, like, all the aggression, it goes back to what I've been saying on other podcasts that we have done. It goes back to when you begin and where you begin. Because even the way that Jermaine and I, like, met each other.
Sure.
If I would have been raised in, like, aggression and, like, trauma and all these things, even the way that we met, it will blow your mind.
Gotcha.
Because I wouldn't have been open to that. Like, literally. Like, I just think I need to share this so that people really just see how amazing energy and space and time and all of those things, like how you're built up, how it manifests, right?
Yes.
So, of course, he's a HBCU graduate. I'm an HBCU graduate. We have the great, Ram Eagle Classic.
Absolutely.
So I'm with my girlfriend. We're at a restaurant and, like, we're having drinks, like, getting ready for the weekend. I get up to go to the restroom, and Mr. Jones he's alone and he's sitting at the bar. So I walk past him. I really don't, like, I see him, but I don't see him.
You don't see him, right?
But he saw me, right?
Right on.
So, he saw me.
Lord.
I'm just kidding. He saw me. So when I
Girl,
come
you
back
so
out,
messy.
he's like,
No,
no, seriously. He's like, no, for real. Like, sister, I know you. And I'm like, I've heard that before, but I'm not clear. I'm kind of lost. He's like, no, seriously. Like, he's like, no, like, I ain't even that type of dude. Like, I ain't trying to play you. No, seriously, I know you from somewhere. And I'm like, but I stopped long enough to figure out, like, first of all, I'm not all full of myself. Like, he don't know me. He just trying to holler. That's not my mindset.
Sure.
It's like, this guy may really, like, know me. Let's figure it out.
Right.
So in 5 minutes, we figured it out. So because he went to Central and he was an athlete.
Yeah.
I went to Winston-Salem State, and I was an athlete, right?
Right.
Cheerleader,
yeah.
correct.
They are athletes.
He's like,
Go
no,
ahead.
I know you.
Yes.
So then we're going to like, when were you at Central? No, so we're at school at the same time. So he remembered me as a cheerleader.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? So then I'm like, oh, so gradually, naturally I'm thinking, oh, you're here for the game. He's like,
Sure.
actually, no, I'm here because I have a book signing.
Yes.
So now I'm totally like intrigued, like, what? Because I just see black brother book signing because typically you thinking, oh, he just here for the game.
Sure.
No,
That
he was
wasn't
here for
the
book
case.
signing. So I'm like,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
can I make it? Can I this? Can I? He's like, well, it's really not that type of setup, but
Right.
we can talk about it later because
Right.
my wheels get to turning. Like my sister was, she's a writer, and then it's like,
Sure.
oh, so you immediately start thinking about all these connections and how you really just connected in that 5 minutes
Sure,
to
sure.
this author because
I
I'm
love it.
interested. Like I want to write a book one day,
Sure,
blah blah
sure.
blah.
Sure. Great
Totally-
resource to have.
Correct. Totally wasn't about like nobody trying to holler.
Yeah.
Nobody trying to none of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so from that moment, you keep talking about intellectual things and things
Yes.
that matter and,
Yes.
life.
Yeah,
And here
period.
we are, a whole nother level of professional relationship,
Absolutely.
brother-sister relationship,
Yes.
like conversation relationship, like
Yes.
literally like, Jermaine, I got to talk to somebody that can hear what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
And this just been, a year ago?
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
A year ago.
Beautiful.
So from a year ago to now,
Yeah.
we're sitting on a podcast together.
Ain't that awesome?
All because
Yeah.
you have a different mindset.
Absolutely.
Right.
It wasn't like this brother is about to stalk me. It
No,
was
I got you.
about
I got you.
this brother really took the time to be like, no, I know her.
Right.
So it had to be something about my energy, his energy,
Absolutely.
that said, stop for a minute.
I love
Let's
it.
figure this out.
I love it. I'll give you a hand clap.
I
for
love
that.
it.
Thank you
Yeah.
for that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I just think that's pretty
beautiful.
cool how we connected.
Absolutely.
I love it. I want to go back to the PWI because what resonated with me when you were just talking about the Rooney Rule.
Yeah.
There's a book that came into mind. I was looking it up because I had to remember. I said Ralph Ellison's book, The Invisible Man.
Right. Absolutely.
So you're having that experience on that college campus. I kept saying, wait a minute, I was in Upward Bound. My mama shared this book with me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it came to my mind. I said, wait a minute, what was that author? And you know how God
Yeah.
would just give it to you. Hey, Ralph
Yeah.
Ellison.
Uh-huh.
I said, I think that's right. And I wanted to make sure I was right before I put it out there.
Absolutely.
You know, Sheila Beverly be like, son.
Yeah.
And my mom's an English,
misquoting
right?
people,
My mom's
right.
an English professor.
Okay.
So my mom will be like, hey.
Texting you.
Yeah, I think you said that wrong.
Right.
Okay. But
I
at
want
any
you to
rate,
correct that on your next
yes.
podcast.
So
Right.
you're having a moment, as Ralph Ellison wrote this book, The Invisible Man. You're actually having that experience right now.
I'm actually living it. Ralph Ellison and Brent Staples wrote a piece
Yes.
called Black Men in Public Space.
Yes, yes.
And those two pieces right there are they exemplify what we as professors of color go through.
Wow.
A lot of professors have written. I mean, you can go find articles now on being black in these white
Yeah.
spaces. But that's
In
exactly
2022.
In 2022, you feel invisible because you got to understand too. And part of what I'm doing in my institution now is basically we're trailing and understanding better that it's a structural issue. It's not just a departmental issue. It's a systemic issue, and it's structural. So year after year after year after year, the same reappointment practices, the same hiring practices. There are no limited folks of color. So what does that tell you? What is that saying? Sometimes silence speaks louder than
Yeah.
whatever you know.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So
Mhm.
when you don't have folks of color in these positions, what does that say about black culture? What does it say about black pedagogy? And what does it say about blacks being able to perform at this high level? And also, what does it say about you not wanting someone black teaching these predominantly white kids coming from these conservative households or whatever households they're coming from?
Right.
I got a question for you, if you would, because we have all kind of folks that listen, and everybody may not have the vocabulary that you have. I understand what pedagogy means. Can you do me a favor for those listeners who don't understand that word? Because it's all about inspiring, it's all about empowering, and making sure that when they hear those words, that these are the kind of people you want to be around so you can have an extensive vocabulary.
Correct.
So if you would you tell our listeners what pedagogy means?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, too. So pedagogy just basically...
I'm glad you used it, though. No, it challenges us all.
Right. And
So-
I'm so used to...
No, you're fine. Please be yourself,
Right.
because this is going to help others
Absolutely.
that don't know. They say, what is pedagogy? It's going to prick their mind.
That's right.
To do something, to go beyond
Right.
the norm.
Right.
So please, tell us the meaning of that word.
So it basically just means... Pedagogy means a way of teaching, styles of teaching, and how you deliver your messages to the masses in order to get them to really understand and gravitate to what you're trying to teach.
Thank you.
That's exactly
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Because my mom's a teacher, I knew what it meant.
I
but
love it.
everybody's not exposed to education and the value of
I love it.
education. So I thank you for
And
that.
even
Yes, sir.
educators
And even
don't have it.
educators don't have it.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So it's in at all levels of teaching, it's important to be able to develop a style of teaching. The problem is when you get into a particular space in the academy or academia or whatever, it can be K-12 education. When you don't see a lot of people of color, to me, that's a direct sign that black pedagogy or black teaching styles and teaching skills is not wanted in that space. And that's a huge problem. So part of where I am now on this committee, we started a committee to revamp the reappointment committee, right? How opening casting the net wider. Get some people of color in this institution.
Yeah.
But again, when you start going up, the dean, the chair of the deans, like that's a structural issue, and that's an extension and the legacy of slavery. And I said it in a room full of white folks. I said that's what that is. It's an extension, and it's extension of the legacy of slavery.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that is.
Because
Love it.
it's kind of like on a smaller scale of this. So let's say that I am a dean of somewhere.
Right.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I'm only gonna know Jermaine Jones.
Absolutely. I get it.
The other white ladies, they don't know who Jermaine Jones is.
No.
They don't know who Sheila Beverly is.
No.
They don't know these people. So
That's
you
right.
have to have color on those levels,
Yes.
because the people of color are going to know the other people of color.
Yes.
But that's why you don't have them, because if you do, just I'm just going to kind of say this as safely as I can.
Girl, if you don't
When
just
you
speak
say-
your mind. Speak your mind.
like even in the industry that I'm in, the beauty industry,
Sure.
when you think, even the language, when you think beauty shop, earlier today you said beauty parlor.
Old school
say
girl, beauty parlor.
going
Old
to
school
the
right
hairdresser,
Yes,
all
sir.
of that. You
Yes, sir.
automatically think black,
True.
right?
True.
Same thing when you say nail tricks, nail city, majestic nails, nail whatever, you automatically think Asian or Viet. Okay.
Right.
True.
So
True.
in the two different spaces I'm in right now, right? It blows my mind. I just learned this in the past year.
Yeah.
When I say I'm at the spa, when I say I'm working at the spa today, they're like, "Oh, you at the Grand Over?"
Yeah. Automatically.
Then when I say I'm working at the salon, they be like, "Oh, your salon,"
Come
the
on
beauty
and plug.
shop,
Come
or
on
the
and
beauty parlor.
Come on
right?
and plug. Come
You
on
see
and
what
plug.
I'm saying?
Spa
So it's
at where?
still
Spa at where?
Spa at the Grand Over.
All right. Thank
at
you.
the
Thank you.
resort, right?
Thank you. Go ahead.
So it just, I have to relate it to my world, right?
Yeah.
So if I say I'm working at the spa, they're like, "Oh, ooh, okay, ooh, you at the spa today." And then it's like when I say I'm at the salon, they're like, "Oh, you at the beauty shop." Or you at the beauty parlor, or you being a hairdresser. So it's like, well, wait a minute, I'm doing the same thing at the spa.
That's right.
I'm doing the same services at the salon, but you still don't see them
Right.
as the same. And it's me. I'm doing both services. I'm just in two different places, right?
I love it.
But when we're talking about this level of where people need to be,
Yes.
the spa director is a black woman.
Say it ain't
See
so.
what I'm saying? So ain't nobody thinking that the spa director at the Grand Dover
And you know what?
is a
I
black
didn't even
woman.
know that.
See?
Absolutely.
Ain't that beautiful, though?
Right.
And
That's something we need to know, though.
exactly. And because it is a black woman, most of the time, you're not going to tell me, most people going to the spa, you don't see a lot of brown people working at the spa, right? Because usually spa directors are not, they're not black, they're not brown people, they're not black people.
Correct.
So they wouldn't know the excellent brown black people that can work in the spa. They only know the people that were there before or the people that are there recommending their friends.
Right.
You see, so it makes a difference.
Does
So
make a
now you have
difference.
color in the spa. You wouldn't imagine. I have had amazing clients,
Yes.
black and white and whatever.
Yes.
But that you can tell on some when I go get them out the weight room, you can tell they're not expecting to have a black nail tech.
Right.
I love it.
They're just
I love
not.
it.
Yeah.
But see, there's a negative. I think there's
Yeah.
a negative stigma attached to black productivity too,
Mm.
Yeah.
and that goes back to black folks being in white spaces.
Yes.
Right. How do we function in white spaces? And you just mentioned at the
Yeah.
spa.
Yeah.
How do we? Because here's the thing. I won't go into it. I know we don't have much time, but
Yeah.
W.E. Du Bois said this about they had a problem with Elaine Locke during the Harlem Renaissance because Elaine Locke was fair skinned and they
Yes.
felt like Elaine Locke was more so trying to. He was black,
Come
but he was
on.
trying to cater to white folks too much.
Yes.
He won't talking that talk like
Yes,
Carl
sir.
McKay and everybody else talking that talk. But my point is this. So I think
sir.
part of the issue is when we start to see ourselves through the same people white folks see us through in that space. I think that's when we start to that's when things start to go south. So I ask you, how do you see yourself in that white space at the spa?
Ooh, I
Because I
love
know
it.
how I see myself in this white space. Because I promise
Right.
you know how football terminology. When you
Right.
play DB, you one on one
Yes,
on the
sir.
island by yourself.
Yes, sir.
That's me at work all the time.
So I said that to say I don't have to feel like that because the same changes that you are needing the white academia
Right.
to make,
Right.
you can see it in certain places, the changes being made. So I don't have to feel like that because guess what? The other two nail techs that I work with are brown.
Good.
I love
You see
it.
what I mean?
Yes.
I don't have
Yeah.
to feel like that. But then there are French estheticians and there are white therapists
Absolutely.
and there are black men that are therapists. So you have all of it.
Right.
But I
Yes.
only think it gets like that when you have somebody in place that purposely makes it that way.
But also
Yes.
implicit biases, but that's for another discussion. But
Correct.
implicit
Yes.
biases is a huge part of that black perception. So on site when they see you, or on site when they see
Right.
Mr. Ross, or on site when they see me, what are
Yeah.
they thinking? It
Right.
goes back to implicit bias.
So I want to shout out to the Grand Dover. It is such a colorful, beautiful place to work. But when people probably think that, they don't think that. They
I got
think
you.
that you're only going to see one thing,
Right.
and you don't. When I went to the first huge appreciation, that room was full of color, color in ethnicities and backgrounds and all of that. But again, that got to be from the top.
Yes.
The whole board can't be all white,
Yes.
and it's not. So that's what I'm saying.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And before we go out, first of all, thank you again, Professor Jones, for gracing us with your presence and your expertise and all of the titles that you have. But thank you for just being you. Thank you for just being real. And before we close, I do want to, talk about this book you're about to write. Just real short. Can you elaborate just a little bit on the book before we close? I got a few minutes, but you got to plug it, and please tell the folks how they can contact you and how we can get purchase your book.
Okay, absolutely. So the book's title is called Bulletproof Blood that I'm writing now. And this book basically is a book that it gives a platform to the inflammation of racism in the post-Barack Obama era. In short, I'm talking about how racism inflamed once the Trump administration came through. It was always there, but just giving examples how it was inflamed. And again, the title of the book is going to be Bulletproof Blood. This book is going to be published by Duke University Press.
Come on.
And once it's out, once it's released, it'll be everywhere, Barnes & Nobles, all platforms, Amazon, and things like that.
Let's talk about where they can get your book in closing.
Right. So you can get the book. It'll be available at Amazon. It'll be available at Duke University Press's website. And you can reach out to me at Professor Jones 1, IG, or on LinkedIn, Jermaine Jones.
All right.
Thank you, Jermaine.
I hope you guys have
Thank you.
been inspired on today. Again, this is the Ross Cloud Podcast. And again, this platform was created to motivate and to inspire. I'm Carl Ross Sr.
I'm Shanta Caldwell.
And peace. We out.